Welcome back to History Highlights. Today, we're going to dive deep into the unknown causes behind one of the deadliest wars in American history, the Civil War. While many are familiar with the glaring, overt reasons that led to the Civil War, such as slavery and states' rights, there were many other facets worth exploring. Let's start by taking a moment to reflect on the gravity of the events that took place during the American Civil War. Over 600,000 people lost their lives in a conflict that shifted the political and social fabric of a nation. As we explore the unknown causes, it's important to remember the human cost of this pivotal moment in history. While many are aware that slavery was a driving force in the Civil War, the economic factors at play are often overlooked. The agricultural South was heavily reliant on slave labor, which allowed them to produce cotton at a much cheaper price. The use of enslaved people as laborers in the southern plantations provided an economic advantage that fueled the region's prosperity. By employing enslaved individuals, plantation owners minimized labor costs and maximized profits, making cotton cultivation a highly profitable enterprise. The demand for cotton in the global market, particularly from textile industries in Europe, further propelled the South's economic growth. The abundance of cotton production not only enriched plantation owners, but also stimulated the development of associated industries such as textile mills and shipping. In contrast, the industrialized North saw this reliance on slavery as a threat to their own economic interests. The North had embraced industrialization, with factories and manufacturing becoming the backbone of their economy. These industries required a different labor force, one that was predominantly comprised of paid workers rather than enslaved individuals. As such, the northern states were not only morally opposed to slavery, but also felt the economic pressure of competition from the southern cotton-based economy. To protect their own industries, the industrial North implemented tariffs on southern goods. Tariffs are taxes imposed on imported goods, making them more expensive for consumers. By raising the cost of southern cotton and other products, the North aimed to create a disincentive for consumers to purchase goods from the South. This protectionist economic policy served the interests of the northern industrialists by shielding their own products from competition and bolstering their regional economy. The imposition of tariffs deepened the economic tension between the two regions. The southern states felt that they were being unfairly treated, as the North effectively hindered their ability to sell their products in the national and international markets. The South viewed the tariffs as a direct attack on their economic livelihoods, exacerbating the existing divide between the North and South. Ultimately, this economic divide, fueled by the reliance on slave labor and the implementation of tariffs, played a significant role in driving the country toward war. The tensions escalated, with the South perceiving their economic interests and way of life under threat from the North. The issues of slavery and economics became inextricably intertwined, leading to the eruption of the Civil War. Beyond the economic divide, there was a significant cultural divide between the North and South as well. The North was more urban and industrialized, while the South was more rural and agricultural, giving rise to distinct ways of life and societal norms. In the North, bustling cities emerged, filled with factories, immigrant communities, and a growing middle class. The rapid urbanization and industrialization brought forth a dynamic and cosmopolitan atmosphere. The urban dwellers embraced the ethos of progress, innovation, and the pursuit of individual success. The diversity of the population in the North fostered a more cosmopolitan outlook, with people from various backgrounds and cultures coexisting and interacting. This cultural melting pot influenced the North's values, such as an emphasis on social mobility, education, and the pursuit of personal ambitions. Conversely, the South maintained its agrarian way of life, with vast plantations dominating the landscape. The plantation owners, who were predominantly part of the planter elite, held significant power and influence in the region. This agricultural economy, largely dependent on slave labor, reinforced a more hierarchical social structure. The rural lifestyle and the reliance on enslaved laborers fostered a more traditional and conservative mindset in the South. The Southern society placed a premium on notions of honor, family, and community, with a deeply ingrained respect for tradition and an agrarian ideal of self-sufficiency. Moreover, historical differences stemming from the Revolutionary War further contributed to the cultural divide between the North and South. The North saw themselves as the true defenders of democracy and liberty, tracing their roots back to the American Revolution. The ideals of freedom, equality, and individual rights were deeply ingrained in the Northern identity. The abolitionist movement gained traction in the North, fueled by a belief in the injustice of slavery and a commitment to the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. In contrast, the South perceived themselves as the guardians of states' rights and a more conservative interpretation of the Constitution. The Southern states emphasized the importance of local governance and autonomy, viewing the federal government's interference as a threat to their way of life. They saw themselves as the inheritors of a more traditional and agrarian society, upholding values of hierarchy, honor, and the preservation of their distinct regional identity. These cultural differences, rooted in distinct economic systems, societal norms, and historical perspectives, deepened the rift between the North and South. The clash between the industrialized, cosmopolitan North and the agrarian, traditional South shaped the socio-cultural landscape of the nation. These divergent cultural values further fueled the tensions that would ultimately culminate in the outbreak of the Civil War. In summary, the economic divide between the North and South was accompanied by a profound cultural divide. The urban politics played a significant role in driving the country towards the Civil War as well. The two-party system of the Democrats and Republicans was already deeply divided even before the war emerged as an imminent reality. The parties, each with their own set of principles and priorities, often placed the advancement of their own beliefs over the interests of the nation as a whole. The Democratic Party, particularly in the South, held a strong pro-slavery stance. Many Democrats in the South saw slavery as crucial to their economic prosperity and defended it as a fundamental aspect of their way of life. On the other hand, the Republican Party, led by Abraham Lincoln, emerged as a prominent force in the North. While the party did not initially seek to abolish slavery outright, its members had a growing anti-slavery sentiment and sought to curtail the expansion of slavery into new territories. The election of Abraham Lincoln as the President of the United States in 1860 marked a turning point that further escalated tensions between the North and South. Lincoln and his Republican Party were viewed with suspicion and fear by the Southern states. They believed that Lincoln's presidency would lead to the eventual abolition of slavery, which directly threatened the economic interests and social fabric of the Southern agrarian economy. In response to their apprehensions, several Southern states, beginning with South Carolina, chose to secede from the Union. The secession movement aimed to protect what the Southern states perceived as their right to maintain their economic system built on the institution of slavery. The formation of the Confederate States of America, composed of these seceding states, established a distinct political entity that directly challenged the authority of the federal government. The secession of the Southern states marked a critical point of no return. It shattered the delicate balance of power that had been maintained between the North and South. The conflict moved beyond ideological differences and political disagreements, becoming a question of national unity and the very structure of the United States. The secession of the Southern states and the formation of the Confederacy prompted the federal government, under President Lincoln's leadership, to respond with force. The battle lines were drawn, and the stage was set for a brutal and protracted civil war that would determine the future of the nation. Finally, the ideological differences between the North and South were significant factors leading to the Civil War. The North staunchly believed in the idea of a single, unified country, with a strong central government that held ultimate authority. This belief stemmed from the understanding that a unified nation would be better equipped to address national issues, ensure equal rights and opportunities for all citizens, and promote economic development on a larger scale. In contrast, the South firmly embraced the concept of states' rights and the ability of individual states to govern themselves to a greater extent. Southern states held the belief that each state should retain significant autonomy and have the power to make decisions that best suited their unique circumstances. They argued that a centralized government could infringe upon their individual rights and impede their ability to maintain their distinct way of life, including the institution of slavery. This ideological divide manifested in the form of nullification. a concept where states asserted their right to reject or ignore federal laws they deemed unconstitutional or against their interests. Nullification became a tool employed by Southern states to resist policies and legislation that they believed encroached upon their perceived rights and threatened their economic and social systems. As tensions continued to escalate between the North and South, it became increasingly clear that the country could no longer sustain itself as two opposing factions with such fundamentally divergent ideologies. The concept of compromise and finding common ground on key issues became increasingly elusive. The ideological divide had created a situation where the two sides fundamentally disagreed on the very nature of the country and how it should be governed. The clash between the North's belief in a unified nation with a strong central government and the South's emphasis on states' rights and individual autonomy ultimately reached a breaking point. The irreconcilable differences between these two visions of America fueled the flames of conflict, pushing the nation inexorably towards war. In summary, the economic, cultural, political, and ideological factors intertwined and fueled the tensions that led to the Civil War. The economic divide between the North and South, cultural disparities, political actions and ideologies, and ideological differences regarding the nature of the country all played significant roles in propelling the nation towards the brink of war. The eruption of the Civil War became inevitable as these factors converged and shaped the course of history. Thank you for watching the video. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Feedback in the comments are highly appreciated. Also, leave some suggestions for topics you want me to make videos about.